Hi, I'm Ashley.
And I'm Sri.
And we are Double Disappointments.
And today, Ash, we're going to be talking about our community. Yeah, who we're surrounded by in majority of our spaces in our day-to-day lives, our family, our friends.
Family friends,
because we got a lot of those. And just this greater sense of brownness growing up, and growing up with the other South Asian kids, immigrant kids.
Yes.
And as much as we've had a good experience being around our family, we've also had a not so good experience, a more toxic experience, some would say. So I want to know, did you have more of a toxic relationship with your community than you did a healthy one at times? And if so, what did that look like?
Definitely, dude.
Yeah.
Like, actually 100%. Like, my parents, we have a lot of family friends. Like, it's a whole bunch.
Okay.
And so, like, that, like, central group kind of has remained the same throughout the years. But there's always been, like, 5 to 10 families that was, like, a part of that central. And then there's, like, even more, like, on the outskirts. So there's, like, a fuck ton of people. Like, it's big, yeah. And so, obviously, I don't know. It was very competitive. A lot of comparisons of the kids, where everyone is at their life. And, like, I guess now I've learned how to deal with it in a healthy way, or at least I hope I'm learning how to deal with it in a healthy way. Yeah. But growing up, like, that shit would just make you feel so ass.
Yeah.
Make you feel so bad about yourself. And then you're like, why aren't I like this? Why don't I look like this person? Why don't I score grades like this person?
Yeah.
So I felt like it was just not as genuine as it could have been. And in some groups. And other groups, there's like one OG group that I've always felt supported, can talk to them about anything, genuine brother sister vibes.
Gotcha.
But I'm so grateful for it because for them, I kept my sanity.
Yeah.
But like in other ways, like,
I know what you mean.
Yeah. How was it like for you? How was your dynamic with that?
It was pretty much the same. Like you said, we had a lot of family friends. And I guess our families didn't necessarily try to do it out of like malintention. Like, right. But it did come out of this sort of like, well, look at what they're doing. And look at what she's doing. And look at what he's doing. And so it became this kind of sort of thing like that you're always cognizant of what other people are doing.
Right.
And so as a brown person, yes, you are aware of like your efforts, your successes, whatever you're working on, but you're also aware of your cousins. Yeah. You're also aware of your family friends. And when that kind of narrative comes in your head, that awareness of what other people are doing at a lot of times of their life, you, unfortunately, I think this is just nature, you start to compare the two.
Right.
Well, what are they doing? What am I doing? What's the differences? And you start to deem them as good or bad. Right. And unfortunately, that black or white thinking is when it gets really not healthy. Because 100%. It's like, oh, okay, so they're doing better than me. Right. Or they're doing worse than me. I'm actually doing quite a lot better. Yeah. And both of those
I'm glad
sides,
you talked about the other end of it.
Yeah. They're both really not good at
100%.
And I think, unfortunately, our families, or this brown culture, this immigrant culture, because we're so keen on success and one pathway of success, because I mean, our parents migrated 7 oceans to get here. They want us to be successful. Right. Feel this need to hold up different examples and be like, this is what you're supposed to be and this is what you're not supposed to be. Yeah. And that's when community and culture becomes a lot more toxic. Right. And not healthy, just not 100%. Something that you can digest on a day-to-day basis.
Exactly. Yeah. No, 1,000,000%. And like this whole thing of like, you cannot look on someone else's, like, what was it? Like, we're all taking tests of life and you can't look over because everyone's test is different, right? Yes. You can't look to cheat. You can't look to compare because everyone's test is different. And I feel like I really want to focus on like the way our parents and like the way family friends would talk about their kids. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like first it was like how aunties would talk to us, right? Not like a, hey, how are you, beta? Good to see you. How's school? Yes. No, it was not like that, right? It was like my family friend was, or my friend was telling me how her family friend, because every family friend group is very different. Yeah. Her family friends would straight up be like, what was your ACT score? Where are you applying? Yeah. What is this? It's just so, and then like this like that look of like dissatisfaction when you reply and they're like, and like that fake smile. I get like the heebie-jeebies on the inside. Yeah. It's like,
I'd be getting an allergic reaction.
Right. Yeah. Like that like look of judgment in their eyes, but then that fake smile to be courteous on their face. Yeah. And I'm just like, whoo. You are scaring me.
Dude, I know what you're talking about. Because it's that same, it's like, it's not asking how you are. It's trying to gauge where you're at. Yep. And it's those picking questions that are exactly like you said. What are your grades like? What classes are you taking next year? What colleges are you thinking of? And so you're trying to get basically, in essence, sort of a survey of where you're at in life. Yeah. And dictating if you're at the right spot or if you're not, and if you're a threat to their children. Right. And I think that's when it becomes really disgusting, because why are we pinning children against each other? Because we were children at one point. You know what I mean? We were ninth graders probably competing with our peers about what classes we're taking. How many honors are you taking?
Right.
How many APs are you taking? Oh, you took the ACT 3 times? I took it 4.
Yeah.
You know, so it's just like that random shit where it's like, you're not asking this because you're genuinely interested. You're asking this because you want to understand in ways you can better. You can out-better us. You 100%. Can out-compete us. And it's not healthy to be on either side of that. It's not healthy to be on the receiving end of it, where you feel like everything is being quantified and qualified for everything.
Exactly.
And it's not healthy to also be studying someone else's moves, trying to wonder, how can I defeat them?
Exactly.
Yeah.
100%. And like, especially when like, I don't know if you ever like kind of eavesdrop on like the aunties talking or like on their little calls and stuff like that. And one will maybe lightheartedly or maybe not so lightheartedly be like, oh yeah, my son got into med school. And then someone will be like, MD or DO? Oh, DO? So a fake doctor. And I'm like, oh, wow. Like the question, or like when someone says, oh, just trying to share an accomplishment. Oh, my daughter did this. Automatically, all the aunties are thinking, what has my kid done better? What can I do to outbeat this person?
I know.
And I'm like, why can't we all just share and be happy for each other's successes without making it like this constant competition?
Yeah. And unfortunately, I think that rhetoric is so bled into our minds because you listen to it from the second you are born to probably when even beyond 18, you know, all throughout college, probably your early on career, that it is ingrained in you to think the same way of the people around you. Yeah. So in school, I would like be like, oh, how would people do on this math test, or what class are they taking? And now, as unfortunately a young adult, I'm like, what are they up to? What companies do they work at? Where do they intern at?
Yeah, exactly.
And it's so stupid because like when I tell you on paper, I look horrible. I look absolutely horrible. There's no accomplishments, achievements that are so outstanding, yet I can look at another person and criticize them and belittle them to make myself feel better. Right. Or I can look at someone above me and make myself feel worse. And that's when it's kind of unlearning that toxic mindset that we're fed. Yeah. And I think that's what we have as a responsibility, because people our age, they're fucking toxic. Right. They're also toxic. They're also going through the same thing we were because they grew up with the same parents. They grew up in the same community. Right. So it's unlearning that and relearning the more healthier way to live a life.
Exactly. Yeah. I feel like one thing in brown culture is we always take, or maybe people of color even, like one thing the immigrant like experience is that we take another's win as our loss.
Ooh, yeah.
And why? Because the limited seats, right?
Yeah.
We feel like there's such a thing that, oh, there's only like 2 seats at the table, those 2 have been taken up, and now you got to be jealous. Now you feel like they took away from your opportunities, right? And it's kind of like, it's so contradictory because like, I don't know, it's kind of like what we were told, like, you know, like white people are like, oh yeah, brown people coming in, taking our jobs, doing this, doing that, and then we're doing that to our own people. So I'm kind of like, ooh, this is a toxic cycle where we're pitting each other against one another, and then we just want to put down others in order to get to the top. And it doesn't have to be like that.
It doesn't. And I think because we were only shown that pathway, we feel like there's no way out.
Yeah.
Like, oh, no, it has to be this competitive. It has to be this cutthroat. And we have to tear each other down to get where we want to be.
Yeah.
And I love what you said, that it's basically a personal threat if someone does good.
Yeah.
What I've been relearning is that someone's success is actually a signal that this is possible.
Yeah.
And that there's more awaiting.
Right.
So your time will come. Your opportunities will come because they're unique to you and unique to every fiber within you.
True.
And their success just means that yours is possible as well.
Right.
And learning that and unlearning this idea of like, actually, no, you have to compete. You have to do so much better in this exact same moment. So fucking tough, but so rewarding.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's so fun. It kind of reminds me of like how we were talking about Never Have I Ever. And I feel like a lot of South Asian creatives felt a little salty that like, oh, a character like Devi's there, maybe that need for South Asians isn't there in media anymore, or that space got filled up.
Yeah.
Or okay, now I guess my time is done. I feel like with Dr. Laura engineering all these conventional paths, there's not too much of a thing of like there's limited seats because okay, fine, you get the good grades, you go to the school, you're able to become that. But then in things like media and arts and entertainment, we feel that the moment someone is on screen, that takes away from us being there.
This sort of like idea that there's so limited opportunities that if someone you know or someone you don't even know takes that opportunity, that means there's none left for you.
Yeah.
Sorry, you can't come to the table. You can't eat. You weren't invited.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And so it kind of becomes this sort of very toxic idea that you have to be the best of the best, and not even for the sake of getting good at your craft and being amazing and the just beauty of like developing in whatever it is that you're developing in, but this idea that you have to be the best out of the best because of the people that you're competing with.
Yes.
And competition, don't get me wrong, me and you, we're competitive bitches. We like to run.
Oh, yeah.
And we like to run fast.
1,000,000%.
Yeah. But we also, I feel like we've had to learn the fine line between a healthy sense of competition versus an unhealthy sense of comparison and defeating ourselves by constantly comparing and competing with those around us.
1,000,000%.
Yeah.
Comparison, or like to the point where it's like, oh, okay, like, you know, I need to get on my edge. I need to get on my grind. Let me do my thing, blah, blah, blah. Because it's competition with yourself, right? But the moment you get into this thing where it's like every small step, you have to constantly compare and see what the other person's doing. They say comparison is the thief of joy.
And it
right?
really is.
It's like I cannot even appreciate my own wins because that win in retrospect doesn't look as big as this other person's win. And it's like, why can't I just be, because I know damn well if this same win I have for myself, someone else had, I would be jealous. But the fact that I have it, I take it for granted that it's already in my
existence,
like
within my hands.
Yeah, exactly, within my hands. And then I'm like, could have been this, right? It's like kind of greedy.
It's so
kind of
greedy. It discredits so much of your hard work and who you are and where you've been.
Right.
Because I don't know about you, bitch, but I'm a firm believer in God's timing, divine timing, all of the above.
Absolutely.
Even when life is going absolute shit. Like I'm on the ground eating ass.
Yeah.
I still believe, okay, there's
everything
a
happens for a
it.
reason.
Yeah.
Yep.
And like maybe I'm delusional, but I like this place.
No, I like it.
Let me be delusional.
Let me be delusional.
Yeah.
Let me have this positivity mindset saying everything's gonna somehow work out.
Yeah.
Because if I don't, then I'm literally
What's
just gonna.
the opposite of it? Everything's not gonna work out.
Then you're manifesting that. Like I'm such a firm believer of divine timing, and also like your thoughts become your reality. Yep. Reality is all about like your perception
of it.
Like your perception is your reality, right?
Yeah.
So it's like same situation, but if I can nitpick every small, bad, disgusting thing, I'm just worsening my own mood.
Exactly.
When in retrospect, or like on the other hand,
write it into your narrative.
Yeah.
Write it in to uplift you.
Right.
And like you said, this idea that like we can get something and we can have it and it's ours, but we see our neighbor and they're like, the grass is greener on that side. No, the fuck it ain't. The grass is green where you water it. So water the grass on your side and you'll be completely fine. Thanks, Fit.
That was good. I've never heard of that.
Really?
Yeah.
I think it was on Pinterest.
Wait, can you say it again?
Grass is greener. No.
Wait. Okay, we'll watch it again. Yeah. I was like, that's good. I want to use that.
Use it, yeah.
But that's actually so fucking valid. Yeah, dude. Absolutely. 100%.
Yeah. The scarcity mindset is one of the most limiting mindsets to develop. It's one of the hardest to break because we're truly, especially in a day, I know we're on social media, but fuck off. But on a day and age where like we literally have social media 24/7, we are forced, or we allow ourselves to be in this place where we can look into the windows of people's lives.
It's so
all
intimate.
the time. Yeah. So intimate. And mind you, it's a curated image.
Yes.
A bitch is filtering and editing everything, even me, about my life
100%.
to show you a 30-second clip out of 24 hours.
Right.
That ain't shit.
It's not shit, dude. Like, I remember I was at like college, and the college thing, like someone did like a realistic day in my life in college, and it was so bad. It was like napping half the day, having like a bowl of ramen, and then like crying over an assignment, right?
Yeah.
But then I was like, oh, I want to do a day in my life, right? I was just trying to do something different. I found myself wanting to go to the gym that day. I found myself wanting to get a green smoothie. I recorded it, and I'm like, fuck this. This is not me. I know damn well I'm going to the gym maybe twice a week on a good week, right? Yeah. I am eating Trader Joe's frozen food, right? Like I'm crying in the library. We talk about this, but I found myself doing the same shit, right? When I did want to do a day in my life, I was like, I do want to show that, oh, it's perfect Ashley doing her perfect lifestyle. And I'm just like, this is so not accurate. No. And I know if someone else, I saw the same video on someone else's page, I would feel worse. Wow. So I'm like, why am I trying to do this to other people? I don't want some girl to look at this and be like, wow, Ashley did all this. And what did I do? No, fuck that.
Me. That's why with aesthetic content, don't get me wrong, I applaud the girlies and the boysies that do it. Yeah. Like, it's amazing that you curate such an aesthetic and pleasing thing to view.
It looks great.
Yeah. But I also don't believe it all the time. Yeah. And I don't want to live it because I don't think it's true.
1,000,000%.
I don't think it's living authentically because it is not perfect 24/7. It is perfect maybe 1 hour of your 24 days. But shit is real and life is ugly.
Yeah.
And the ugly parts are what actually contains the most beauty because it's what changes you and defines you. So being honest about the fact that, you know what, I've actually had a lot more failures this year than wins.
Yeah.
But that's what sets me up for success the next year because I learned from those failures. It's not my successes. We've talked about this before, but like our wins, they're great. They're pretty. They're awesome. Like we love to, you know, soak in them. But wins honestly don't come as often as losses. Dude. Because we're meant to learn from them and we're meant to continue developing and continue 100%. Working on our craft or character, whatever it is, you know?
$1,000,000%. Like, it's like, I forgot where I saw this, but it's like the iceberg where you see kind of like the tip of the iceberg and you see the success and the beauty and the fit body and the healthy mindset and the great, but then under it is like this whole boulder of crying, sadness, failures, this, that, but you don't show that to the world, right? I'm not gonna be like, hey guys, so I just auditioned for 10 movies and I got rejected by all. Okay, bye. Yeah. No, you're gonna be like, hey, I got this movie, I'm working with this person, I'm gonna be on this streaming platform, right? Yeah. But you need to know, like, with every win that you see from someone, like, they went through the failures, they went through what you're going through right now. Just because the timelines don't align doesn't make it any more unvaluable. Yeah.
Why would we compare where you're at in life right now with where I'm at in life right now? Like, I get it. As humans, we need connection. We need a sense of like understanding with one another. But that doesn't always come from the same place at the same time. Right. We all endure shit. Believe it or not, Kim Kardashian has probably also had difficulties in her fucking life. Right. You know, like, I don't love the bitch, but like, you can still say that. But people have struggles at different times. People have storylines at different times. And it does you an immense disservice to compare your lows with someone else's highs.
Because it just makes you feel more like shit.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh, I fucking hate that, man. It's one of the most depressing stuff going through it.
It really fucking is.
Yeah. Do you have any, kind of like going back to like the toxic, because it's not just us being like, oh, we're these inherently toxic people. No. We learned it. Yeah. And going back to that toxic culture, that toxic community, do you have any stories?
I have many stories.
Oh, and bitch, tell me.
I want to share some more recent ones.
Okay.
Because obviously I'm not going to go back to 2013. Like, I'm going to be like what I'm going through right now. I feel like that's like very important. So I feel like one thing, just community-wise, so we really, as much as I like shit on aunties and uncles and this and that, I do seek their approval. I seek their validation. I seek their compliments. I seek them saying, wow, Ashley is successful. Even though it shouldn't mean anything to me, but I do. We all do, right? One situation is that I worked at Tesla. I did a co-op there last year, 5 months. And whenever I say uncle, aunties, I don't realize this, but I love saying I work at Tesla. I'm an industrial engineering student, all this stuff, because they always get very impressed. They're happy. They're like, in their eyes, they're like, stamp of approval. Ashley's doing good. Now, this summer, I got another opportunity in June. And because of that, I left Tesla. And I was home. So I was busy doing that opportunity in June, but then in July and August, I was home because I quit Tesla. They wouldn't give me enough days off, which was like 3 weeks of time. It was valid. So I did the other opportunity, July, August, I've been home. I've been going back to family friend parties because when you're at college, you don't really go there. You're busy. Yeah. And just seeing the look on like aunties and uncles' faces when I say I left Tesla and I pursued something else and I'm home, it's the first time I felt like this thing of like disapproval from them. Yeah. And I was like, I wish it didn't affect me as much as it did. I wish I didn't care about what this random uncle or auntie said about it. Because I knew this opportunity for me in June was a lot better for me at the time than Tesla was. But just feeling like I disappointed them. And again, I feel like this is a good cue to kind of go on like why we call ourselves the double disappointments. Because when we feel like we're not living up to something, I know we can laugh like, oh, we're such a disappointment to our family, LOL. But that shit can sting and be like, I am disappointing my family, my community members, like all of that. And it's kind of, it becomes your identity where you're like, oh, I disappointed everyone.
No, for real. Because like you said, it is funny to be like, hey, we disappointments. Because it takes off a lot of pressure when you accept the fact that, okay, I am a disappointment. You know, like I'm not going to live up to that standard. Right. But like you said, there's a bit of a sting to it because you are letting someone down at the end of the day. And it isn't that you're letting them down in their entirety and that your existence in itself is disappointing, but the actions that you're taking that tend to deviate from the cultural standard is not as accepted, is not as applauded. So it's just not, it's not something rewarding. Unfortunately, it's seen as disappointing. And that's kind of, like you said, why we came up with the name, because we are double disappointments. We are double,
like doing like comedy that we do, the videos that we put on social media. And like when we were making like this podcast, we were kind of trying to figure out like what's the best name, just kind of seeing where like me and Shri like come from, what we do, like what we wanted to achieve from this podcast. So when you said like double disappointments, I was just like, I love it. Like that's the one. Yeah.
Because I'm like, that's literally encapsulates our experiences being women of color in this space, disappointing our parents of color. They literally are the happiest by any means. Yeah.
But trying to be that voice that people can relate to.
Yeah.
And hopefully I learn from maybe, and just kind of be like, yeah, I get what they're fucking talking about.
Yeah.
And I fucking
because
relate.
a lot of people have been through it. It's not just you, you know?
Yeah, exactly. So with the whole toxic family dynamics, how I shared like my kind of story with the aunties, I'm sure you have some. So
got a bit cute.
yeah. What do you feel is your most?
I think the one that was a bit poignant for me was when one of my closest family friends, like absolute closest, ride or die, one of my ride or dies, known her since she was born.
Wow. Okay, that's like pretty family
close.
at that point.
So when I started posting on TikTok and some of my videos were gaining viralness, it kind of went around in the family group chat, and just this idea of like, oh,
like her family group chat,
our entire family friend group chat, you know, like, oh, and like people would make comments at family parties like, she's this big, you know, TikTok star, oh my god, like, and then people would be like, well, what are you talking about? What exactly is she doing? And so my friend, she basically, when her mom asked her, she's like, no, I'm not going to show you her videos because that's a lack of privacy. That's a lack of respect. Like, I'm not going to show you that. That's inappropriate. But her mom was really, really inquisitive. So she downloaded TikTok herself.
Oh, for you. And to see your content.
And searched me up and watched all of my stuff. Apparently she put it on the house TV and was going through it with her husband. Yeah. And was going through it and essentially just being like, this is bad. This is not right. This is disappointing. And when I heard that, when she told me, because she's a very honest friend, as much as I didn't want to be like, fuck your mom, she a stupid ass bitch. That's exactly what I was thinking. Yeah. You know, I was like, what the fuck? And it really stung me because it made me feel like I was actually doing something wrong. And I get it. My content, our content is not everyone's shot of vodka. They're not going to want to fucking drink it. Yeah. Like, I get it. But what I'm doing, just because you don't like it, doesn't mean it's inherently wrong and that I'm inherently a bad person.
And that's what she like made you feel like.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. That's actually a lot.
It's a fucking lot.
That's a lot. Yeah. That's some fan behavior next level. Right? Like Shawty's gonna get VIP tickets to your show. Seriously? When you have one. Like, she's clearly very excited.
And honestly, in the moment I probably cried. I don't remember. Yeah. But now that I'm like, I'm 22, I'm grown, bitch. Yeah. I'm at this like era where I'm like, no, all the bad things that happened to me, I painted it in such a way that it's a stepping stone.
Right.
So, okay, your family friend, someone you looked up to, does not approve of you. Right. Well, here's an opportunity to understand that you don't need someone's approval or validation to actually achieve things. Right. It really comes from within. And so I think we both learned this, but like with the competition, with the culture, a lot of the things that we have to navigate and overcome, they may seem as burdens at times, but there really are opportunities to refine ourselves, to become better versions of ourselves that other people may not have the opportunity to become because, you know what, they just have supportive cultures. Yeah. You know? Yeah. So,
dude, I'm proud of you for like taking it like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think it's really easy to get in your head, and maybe a lot of people wouldn't have the courage and would have stopped creating at that point. And look at you now, all the opportunities you've gotten. Thanks, you would be like, dude, I'm so glad I didn't stop, because like that was just the beginning. Yeah. But for a lot of people, that they wouldn't have been able to handle more. Yeah. And so like, I'm so glad you shared that story, because I feel like people would definitely like pull inspiration from that and kind of be like, this is the sign I needed to keep going and not get so, I don't know, down and about what other people are saying.
What other people are saying is truth.
Is the truth.
When you start taking it as truth and not just what it is, which is a grain of fucking salt, one opinion. Yeah. That's when, like, you got to put it in context, because the reality of the matter is that everybody talks shit.
Everyone does.
Everybody. You talk
shit.
Even
about Mother Teresa.
Literally.
Like, everyone
Mahatma Gandhi probably talks shit.
Right.
You know? Yeah. So everyone talks shit. You just got to, whose opinion do you really care about?
Exactly.
Yours, maybe a friend you really value, maybe your mom, maybe your dad. And even when they are disappointed, they still love you.
They still do. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. And you want to take the advice and the opinions of people you want to be like. No offense, auntie. I'm not trying to be in a loveless marriage where I'm just staying at home shitting on people half my age at the age of 50. Yep. I don't want to be like that. Yes. So why do I care about your opinion about someone who I don't want to at all look like, be like, act like?
Why would I take notes from you? The fuck are you doing that I want to do? Yeah. Yeah. That is such a good point that you made. You know? We're so quick to take on criticism from people on our comments, people on the internet, people we see on our day-to-day lives, when it's like, wait, who are you? Oh, I thought the fuck not. Right. Yeah, sit down.
Exactly. Yeah. That's why we have like life mentors and this like that for the reason, because it's like, I want to be like you, or there's like qualities of you that I want to embody, which is why I'm going to take your criticism and I'm going to take your feedback.
And that's the minority, babe. Yeah. It's never going to be the majority that you're finding, oh, this is like my group of role models. No. Typically it's one or two. Yeah. And it's a good thing, because you don't want to take the opinions of 20. They mostly all diluted and not what you need.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Damn.
100%, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like, speaking of like the brown community, so obviously like looking back into history and like all of that stuff, like we are one of the later people of color to have immigrated and start communities of our own in America, right? Like first we have like Black communities, Mexican communities, like Chinese communities, all these people who were like kind of part of like building like America, and like really just like they have more deeper rooted history in this country than we do. We are, immigration happened a bit later, right? So I think for that reason, I think it's so important for us to look at those established groups of colored communities and kind of follow their paths. Like I feel like when it comes to like support and hyping each other up and just being there for one another, I feel like personally the Black community does like a great job in that.
Gotcha.
Like I feel like just like kind of seeing the way that they are like a family, and I feel like that like sense of like family and support is something that I would love to see more in like the brown community in the future. And like even speaking like to some of my friends and this and that, kind of like hearing how it is, like they're so supportive. Like I've been to like a cute couple of those like family gatherings like for like my like, you know, Black friends, and seeing how it is, I'm just like, this is so warm and welcoming, and everyone's just like cheering you on and saying hurrah to like everything you're doing. Yeah. And I was like, that's awesome. Like even their aunties and their uncles and their versions of like grandpas and grandparents, and this, it's part of you win to criticize and like judge, but I just felt like more of that thing of like, hey, we're all in this together and your win is my win.
Yeah.
And I love that.
Yeah. Rather than your win is my loss, that opposite idea. Yeah. I do recognize that a lot too. And I just feel like even on social media, I see like in the comments hyping each other up. Yeah. And that's something, unfortunately, I don't always see in the Indian community. Right. So I think, like you said, it's important that we take note and understand that we're not inherently bad by any means. Maybe it's generations of trauma, generations of habits that are not easy to break. Yeah. But that you and I, our friends, our communities, our peers do have the capacity to emulate those characteristics that we so admire and that we so need in our community. 100%. Which is that support, not always the criticism. Don't get me wrong, bitches deserve criticism. I don't support all bitches. Yeah. But sometimes we can take a step back and realize, is that rooting from actual need to criticize? Like, okay, is this going to critique actually going to better what we're working on? Or is it just to tear someone down? Right. Where's it rooting from?
Where's it rooting from? Yeah. And then after finding that point, you can be like, okay, let me not be like this, and let me kind of just do some introspective. Yeah, like
let me go to therapy.
Yeah, exactly. And just I totally agree with that. Yeah, 100%. So yeah, here's to us like rewriting the narrative and becoming aunties and uncles that future generations will not cringe at and not feel scared of and feel like I can talk to them, right? Like I want this whole connotation of aunties and uncles to like change, and for us to be like the lit aunties that you can talk to and you can complain about boys to and get like genuine real advice and know that we're all like rooting for you and supporting you.
Yeah, I agree. I want to be that auntie that smokes a blunt with you and like you can talk to life about, and you can talk shit with me, you know, and you can tell me like your deepest darkest passions, you know, the ones that you're a little bit ashamed to tell your parents maybe, or just afraid what other people will say, because I think it's one component to be like, okay, I'm scared of doing this thing, and it's another component to be like, I'm scared of doing this thing because of what my family and people will say. You know, it's two different levels of fear and two different levels of disappointment. Right. And I think we will be that generation and that group of people that really sets a new tone for how our community is meant to support and uplift one another.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love that. Here's to more supportive and sexier South Asian communities. Hey!